Have you ever noticed that some people seem to move through life with an invisible hand guiding them? They have what they need when they need it. Doors open. Solutions appear. And here's what I've discovered, after 50 years of studying the mind. They're not special, they're not lucky, and they weren't born under a better star than you. They've simply learned to live from a different place inside themselves. Tonight, I want to show you that place. It's been called many names throughout history, but I call it the consciousness of God within you. And once you learn to live from this source, everything changes. Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be saying, Dr. Murphy, I've tried prayer. I've tried being positive. I've tried affirmations and visualization, and all the techniques. Nothing works for me. I must be doing something wrong, or maybe I'm just not meant to have the life I want. And I understand that frustration. I've sat with thousands of people who felt exactly the same way. I've heard the discouragement in their voices. I've seen the defeat in their eyes. But here's what I want you to know. You're not doing anything wrong. You've just been operating from the wrong level of consciousness. And that's what we're going to fix tonight. By the end of this teaching, you're going to understand something that will change how you pray, how you think, and how you live. You're going to learn to stop living from your limited human consciousness, the one that worries, and doubts, and struggles, and sees only problems and obstacles, and start living from the consciousness of God within you. And I'm not talking about religion here. I'm not going to ask you to join a church or believe in any particular doctrine. I'm talking about a practical, scientific law of mind that works whether you're Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, or nothing at all. This is about how consciousness actually works. This is about universal law. Maybe you feel like your prayers hit the ceiling and bounce back. Maybe you've prayed for years about something and seen no results. Maybe you're tired of trying so hard, working so hard, struggling so hard, and getting nowhere. Maybe you've read all the books, done all the affirmations, attended all the seminars, but you still feel that gap between you and the life you want. You still feel stuck. You still feel limited. You still feel like something is missing. Here's what I know after 50 years of studying consciousness. You're not doing anything wrong. You've just been operating from the wrong level of consciousness. You've been trying to create from the surface mind, when creation happens at a much deeper level. You've been trying to force outcomes with your willpower, when the real power works in an entirely different way. For over 5 decades, I've studied the laws of mind and spirit. I've counseled thousands of people, from housewives struggling to feed their families to business executives running major corporations, from the desperate, who felt they had nothing left, to the successful, who wanted even more. And I've seen one truth prove itself again and again and again. When a person shifts from human consciousness to God consciousness, when they learn to live from the source within instead of the worried mind without, the impossible becomes possible. Right now, at this very moment, you're living from what I call surface mind, the mind that looks out at the world and sees circumstances. It's the mind that sees problems, limitations, obstacles. It's the mind that says, I can't afford this, or I'm not good enough, or I'm too old, or it's too late for me, or I don't have the right connections, or the economy is bad, or my family was poor so I'll always be poor. It's the mind that lives in reaction to what appears to be happening outside of you. But beneath that surface mind, beneath all those worried thoughts and fearful feelings, is the infinite intelligence that created you. It knows no limitations. It has infinite resources. It has infinite wisdom. It has infinite power. It's the same power that created the universe, the same intelligence that keeps planets in orbit, the same life force that grows an oak tree from a tiny acorn. And it's inside you right now, waiting for you to acknowledge it, waiting for you to live from it, waiting for you to let it express through you. Now, I'm not going to tell you to pray harder or be more religious. I'm not going to give you complicated rituals, or tell you to sit in meditation for hours every day, or tell you to deny your humanity. What I'm going to show you is simple, practical, and based on how consciousness actually works. This isn't theology. It's psychology. It's about understanding that your consciousness creates your experience, and that you can choose which consciousness you operate from in any given moment. What makes this approach different from everything else you've tried? I'm not asking you to have blind faith. I'm not asking you to believe in miracles. I am showing you a law, a principle, as reliable as the law of gravity. When you impress your subconscious mind, which is one with the universal consciousness, with clear, feeling-filled ideas, it must bring them into form. It has no choice. This isn't religion, it's science. It's mental science. And it works whether you believe in it or not. Just like gravity works whether you believe in it or not. I know you're tired of struggling. I know you've wondered if there's something wrong with you. If everyone else got the instruction manual except you. If maybe you're just not meant to have good things in life. But here's the truth. The absolute truth. The instruction manual was inside you all along. You were born with it. It's written in your very consciousness. Tonight, we're going to open it together. And by the time we're done, you're going to feel the presence of God not as something distant, not as something you have to reach up to, or beg or plead with, but as the very life you're living right now, as the consciousness. Reading these words right now, let me share with you some experiences that will illustrate what I mean by living from the source within. These stories aren't special cases. These aren't miracles reserved for saints or holy people. They're examples of ordinary people, people just like you, who discovered the extraordinary power within them. A man came to me in desperate straits. His business was failing. He had a family to support, children who depended on him, a wife who was worried sick, and he needed one particular contract to save everything. This wasn't just about wanting more money, or wanting to expand. This was about survival. He'd tried everything he knew how to do. He'd worked harder, putting in 16-hour days. He'd networked until he was exhausted. He'd even undercut his prices, practically giving away his services. Nothing worked. Every door seemed to close in his face. He was exhausted, frightened, and running out of time. When he sat in my office that day, I could see the desperation in his eyes. His hands were shaking, his voice was tight with fear. He told me his whole story, and I listened, and then I asked him a question. What do you think about when you wake up in the morning? What's the first thing that goes through your mind? He said. I think about that contract. I need it. I need it so badly. What if I don't get it? What will happen to my family? How will I pay the bills? What if I lose everything? And there it was. There was the problem. Here's what he was doing wrong. He was operating entirely from human consciousness. Every morning, he'd wake up and immediately drop into the consciousness of need, of lack, of desperation. He was impressing his subconscious mind with fear, with worry, with the feeling of not having, and his subconscious mind, which is the creative level of mind, was creating more of the same. He was caught in a vicious cycle, where his worry was actually pushing away the very thing he wanted. I said to him, listen carefully. You're trying to get something from out there. You're looking at the world as if it's withholding what you need. But that's not how it works. Everything you need is already within you. The infinite intelligence that created the stars, that created galaxies, that created this entire universe, that same intelligence created you. And it created you with everything you need to succeed. You don't need to beg the universe. You need to claim your divine inheritance. You need to stop being a beggar at the universe's door, and start being a king in your Father's house. He looked at me confused, so I explained further. Your conscious mind, I told him, is like a gardener who can choose what to plant. You can decide what seeds to put in the ground, but your subconscious mind is the soil that grows whatever is planted. Right now, you're planting seeds of fear and lack all day long. Every time you think I need that contract, every time you think, what if I don't get it? Every time you imagine failure and disaster, you're planting those seeds in your subconscious, and you're getting a harvest of fear and lack. You're getting more of what you don't want. We need to plant different seeds. I taught him a new practice. Every night before sleep, instead of worrying, instead of rehearsing all the things that could go wrong, he would close his eyes and do something completely different. He would imagine having the contract already. Not trying to get it. Not hoping for it. Having it. He would feel the joy of having received good news. He would feel successful, abundant, secure. He would imagine calling his wife with the good news. He would feel the relief in his body, the gratitude in his heart, the peace in his mind. And he would say to himself, "Infinite intelligence knows how to bring this about. I don't need to figure out the how. I don't need to manipulate, or force or push. I rest in the consciousness of success. I live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled." Now, I want you to understand something important here. He wasn't pretending, he wasn't lying to himself, he wasn't engaged in some kind of make-believe fantasy. He was entering a state of consciousness. He was living from the end result in his mind, and his subconscious mind, which doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one, accepted this impression as true. Think about it. Your subconscious mind doesn't argue. It doesn't say, "That's not true. You don't have the contract yet." It simply accepts what you impress upon it with feeling. And once it accepts something, it goes to work to bring it into manifestation. That's its job. That's what it does. It's the creative level of mind. For 3 weeks, he did this practice, every single night. Some nights it was easy. He could feel the joy, the success, the abundance. Other nights, his worried mind would try to intrude. He'd start thinking about all the reasons why it wouldn't work. But he'd gently bring himself back to the feeling. He'd return to the consciousness of success. And then something remarkable happened. 3 weeks later, he got a phone call out of the blue. A company he'd never even contacted. A company he didn't even know existed. Wanted to work with him. They'd heard about him. Through someone, who knew someone. They had a project that was perfect for his skills. The contract they offered was 3 times larger than the one he'd been desperately chasing. The terms were better. The timeline was better. Everything about it was beyond what he'd been struggling to achieve. But here's the real lesson. The lesson I want you to really get. It wasn't the contract that changed his life. It was discovering that when he lived from the consciousness of God within him, when he lived from the feeling of already having what he needed, when he rested in the consciousness of success, instead of the consciousness of lack, the outer world had to conform. The outer world had no choice. Consciousness is cause. The world is effect. You see, he stopped being a beggar at the universe's door. He stopped looking outside himself for salvation. He became a king in his Father's house, claiming what was already his in consciousness. And that's the shift I want you to make tonight. That's the shift that will change everything for you. Let me tell you about another person, and this story always touches my heart. A woman attended one of my lectures years ago in San Francisco. The lecture was in a beautiful old church, and she sat in the back row. After the lecture, she waited until everyone else had left, and then she came to me with tears streaming down her face. She'd been diagnosed with a serious illness. The doctors had run all the tests. The diagnosis was clear. The prognosis was grim. They told her she had maybe a year, maybe less. She was frightened, naturally. She was young, with her whole life ahead of her. She came to me and said, "Dr. Murphy, will God heal me if I pray hard enough? If I'm good enough? If I have enough faith?" And there it was. Those words. If I pray hard enough. If I'm good enough. If I have enough faith. That tiny word "if" revealed everything about her consciousness. She was treating God like a distant judge who might or might not grant her request. She was treating healing like something she had to earn, something she had to prove herself worthy of. She was hoping, wishing, begging. But hope, without understanding, is just worry wearing a mask. She was living in the consciousness of disease and fear and unworthiness, all while asking to be healed. And the consciousness you live in is what creates your experience. I took her hands in mine, and I looked into her eyes and I said, "Listen to me carefully. God isn't healing you. God is your health. Right now, in this moment, the life force flowing through you, keeping your heart beating without you thinking about it, that's God. The intelligence that knows how to heal a cut on your finger, without you consciously directing each cell, that's God. Right now, in this very moment, there are millions upon millions of processes happening in your body perfectly. Your cells are regenerating. Your immune system is working. Your organs are functioning. Your blood is flowing. Your lungs are breathing. That's the infinite intelligence operating in you. You don't need to convince this power to heal you. You need to stop blocking it with your fearful thoughts. She looked at me with something new in her eyes. A glimmer of hope, but also confusion. So what do I do? She asked. How do I stop blocking it? And I told her, we're going to change your consciousness. We're going to shift you from the consciousness of disease to the consciousness of health. Because consciousness is everything. It's not your body that needs to change first, it's your consciousness. So we worked together over the following weeks. Every day, she would sit quietly in her home, in a comfortable chair, and she would commune with the infinite healing presence within her. Not up in heaven, not in some church, not outside her at all. Within her. She would close her eyes, relax her body completely, take deep breaths, and feel the presence of perfect life flowing through her. She would say to herself, feeling every word, the perfection of God is expressing through every cell of my body. Divine order is being established now. Every atom of my being is filled with the light, and love, and life of the infinite. My body is the temple of the living God. Perfect health is my divine right and my natural state. Now, I want you to understand what she was doing. This is crucial. She wasn't begging. She wasn't pleading with some distant God to please heal her. She was acknowledging the truth. She was recognizing that the healing power was already within her. She was affirming what was true at the deepest level of reality. She was living in the consciousness of perfect health, even while her body was still showing symptoms. That's the key. That's the secret. You don't wait for the healing to feel healthy. You don't wait for the money to feel abundant. You don't wait for the relationship to feel loved. You feel it now. You live in the consciousness of it now. And then, because consciousness is creative, it must manifest in your outer world. She didn't deny that her body was sick. She didn't pretend the diagnosis didn't exist. She simply denied it power over her consciousness. She refused to live in the consciousness of disease. Every time a fearful thought came, and they came often at first, she would gently but firmly return to the truth. I am the perfect expression of God. The infinite knows only wholeness and life. That is what I am. That is my truth. That is my reality. She made this her daily practice. Morning and night, and whenever fear crept in during the day, she would return to this consciousness. She would commune with the infinite within. She would feel the presence of perfect health. She would live in the consciousness of the healed body. Within weeks, she started feeling better. Within months, her symptoms began to disappear. She went back to the doctors. They ran the tests again. They were baffled. The markers had changed. The disease was in remission. They called it spontaneous remission. They called it unexplained. But I wasn't surprised. She had changed her consciousness, and the body had responded. And here's what I want you to hear, what I want you to really understand. The healing wasn't a miracle in the sense of breaking some natural law. It was the law working perfectly. It was consciousness creating form. When you align your consciousness with the infinite perfection within you, your body must respond. Not sometimes. Not if you're lucky. Always. Because consciousness is cause, and your body is effect. Change the consciousness, and the body must follow. That's the law. Now let me tell you about a young man I once knew. His story illustrates something beautiful about how the infinite works. This young man wanted to be a musician. It was all he'd ever wanted. Music was in his soul. When he heard beautiful music, tears would come to his eyes. When he imagined conducting an orchestra, his whole being came alive. But he had no money for lessons. He had no connections in the music world. His family was poor, and thought he was being foolish, wasting time on impossible dreams. They wanted him to get a practical job, something secure. Everything in his outer circumstances said impossible. From the human level of consciousness, from the level that looks at conditions and circumstances, it was impossible. He looked at his bank account, and saw nothing. Literally nothing. He looked at his lack of training. He'd never had a formal music lesson in his life. He looked at all the successful musicians, the ones who'd gone to prestigious schools, who'd had private tutors since childhood, who'd had parents who supported and encouraged their gifts. He had none of that. And if he'd stayed in that consciousness, in that level of awareness that sees only what is, he would have stayed stuck. He would have given up. He would have gotten that practical job, and lived with regret for the rest of his life. But something in him, something deeper than his logical mind, refused to accept the verdict of the five senses. He came to understand a profound truth that changed everything. The same infinite intelligence that gave Beethoven his genius, that gave Bach his brilliance, that gave Mozart his gift, that gave every great musician their talent, was within him too. Not in a different quantity, not a smaller portion. The infinite can't be divided, it can't be measured out like water from a well. All of it was available to him. Every bit of it. The same creative power that exists in the greatest musician who ever lived existed in him, because there's only one source, one intelligence, one creative power, and it flows through everyone equally. We're all connected to the same source. The only difference between people is how much of that power they allow to flow through them, how much they live in the consciousness of it. So what did he do? Every single night, without fail, he would sit in his small, modest room and conduct an imaginary orchestra. He didn't have a baton, so he'd use a pencil. He didn't have an orchestra, so he'd use his imagination. He would close his eyes and hear the music in his mind. He would feel the baton in his hand, feel its weight, feel its balance. He would hear the music swelling around him, the strings singing, the brass calling, the woodwinds dancing, the percussion driving. He would feel the joy of expressing the music within his soul, the music that was yearning to come forth. He would feel the satisfaction of conducting, of leading, of creating beauty, of bringing something divine into the world. And he didn't do this once or twice, and then give up when nothing immediately happened. He did this every single night for months. Some nights, the vision was so clear he could practically touch it. Other nights, doubt would creep in. His mind would say, "This is foolish, you're wasting your time, nothing is happening." But he'd gently push those thoughts aside, and return to the vision, return to the feeling. Now, he wasn't pretending in the way a child pretends. This is so important to understand. He was living from the end result in his consciousness. He was impressing his subconscious mind with the feeling of being a conductor, of being a musician, of living his purpose. Night after night, he was programming his subconscious with this vision, with this feeling. And his subconscious mind, which is one with the universal subconscious, which is one with the infinite intelligence, accepted this impression and began creating the pathways to bring it about. Your subconscious mind is incredibly powerful. It has connections to people and circumstances and opportunities that your conscious mind knows nothing about. When you impress it with a clear vision and a strong feeling, it goes to work behind the scenes, arranging, orchestrating, bringing together the people and circumstances necessary to manifest what you've impressed upon it. Within a year, what you might call coincidences started happening. But I put that word in quotes, because there are no coincidences when you're living from the right consciousness. There are only the perfect workings of law. He was at a community event, something he wouldn't normally have attended, but he felt drawn to go. He met a retired music teacher there, an elderly woman who'd taught at a prestigious conservatory for 40 years. They got to talking. She heard his passion. Something in her was moved. She said, "Come to my house next Tuesday. I'll give you a lesson." He went. She taught him. She saw his raw talent, his deep passion, his genuine gift. And for reasons she couldn't fully explain, she offered to teach him for free. Week after week, she poured her knowledge into him. He absorbed everything like a sponge. Then he got invited to play at a small church service. A friend of the music teacher needed someone. The regular musician was sick. He went. He played. He poured his heart into it. And in the audience that day was someone who knew someone else. That person mentioned him to another person. A door opened, then another, then another. Within 3 years, he was conducting a small community orchestra. Within 5 years, he was doing exactly what he'd been imagining every night in his tiny room. Within 10 years, he was conducting professional orchestras. Door after door opened, not because he pushed them, not because he manipulated circumstances, not because he had connections or money or advantages, but because his consciousness had opened first. This is how creation works. This is the law. You don't create from the outside in. You don't wait for circumstances to change and then feel successful. You create from the inside out. You live in the consciousness of the wish fulfilled, and the infinite intelligence within you makes it so in ways you could never orchestrate with your limited human mind. The infinite has ways you haven't thought of. It has connections you don't know about. It has timing that's absolutely perfect. It sees the whole picture, while you see only a tiny piece. Your job isn't to figure out the how. Your job isn't to plan every step. Your job is to maintain the consciousness, to live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, to commune with the infinite within, and to follow the intuitive promptings that arise. Let me tell you about the day I personally discovered this truth, because I want you to know that I'm not teaching theory here, I'm teaching from lived experience. I was young, maybe in my mid-20s, full of questions about life, about God, about how the universe works. I was studying to be a minister, reading everything I could get my hands on, struggling to understand how God could be both infinite and personal, both everywhere and somehow within me. I'd read all the theology books. I'd studied all the philosophies. But it was all in my head. It was all intellectual knowledge. I didn't feel it in my being. I didn't live it. I'd been praying about a particular situation for months. It was a personal matter, something that weighed heavily on my heart. And I was doing all the right things according to what I'd been taught. Going to church every Sunday, reading scripture every morning, trying to be good, trying to live righteously, trying to earn God's favor. I thought if I just tried hard enough, if I was good enough, if I prayed long enough, God would answer my prayer. But nothing changed. Weeks went by, then months, and the situation stayed exactly the same. And I felt that terrible, hollow feeling of being separate from God, of shouting into a void, of not being heard, of being alone in the universe. Have you ever felt that? Like you're talking to the ceiling? Like your prayers go nowhere? Like God is far away, busy with more important things, not concerned with your little life? Then one night, I was alone in my small room. It was late. I was tired, but I couldn't sleep. I picked up my Bible, and opened it randomly. It fell open to the Gospel of John, chapter 14. I started reading, and I came to verse 20. On that day, you will realize that I am in my Father, and you are in me, and I am in you. I'd read that verse 100 times before. I'd heard sermons about it. I'd studied it in theology class. But this night, something was different. The words seemed to glow on the page. I read it again slowly, letting each word sink in. I am in my Father, and you are in me, and I am in you. And suddenly, in a flash of insight that changed my life forever, it hit me like a lightning bolt. Not in my head. Not as an intellectual concept. In my being. In every cell of my body, I felt it. I wasn't separate from God. I was in God, and God was in me. The very consciousness I was using to read those words, the awareness that was aware, the life that was living through me, that was God. That was the divine. That was the infinite, expressing as me. The life force animating my body, that was God. The intelligence, operating my heartbeat, without me thinking about it, that was God. The power that was breathing me, that was God. The awareness that was aware of being aware, that was God. And I was not separate from it. I was it, and it was me. We were one. I sat there in my small, quiet room, and for the first time in my life, I felt the presence. Not as something outside me, that I had to reach up to. Not as something distant in the sky, that I had to beg. Not as a stern judge watching my every move. But as the very life I was living. Every breath was God breathing. Every thought was God thinking. Every beat of my heart was God's heart beating. I was the activity of God, not separate from the source, but the very expression of it. Tears rolled down my face. Not sad tears. Tears of relief. Tears of recognition. Tears of coming home. I'd been looking for God everywhere, except the one place God actually was, within my own consciousness. I'd been searching the heavens, when heaven was within me. I'd been trying to reach something far away, when it was closer than my own breath. And in that moment, everything I'd read, everything I'd studied, Everything I'd struggled to understand suddenly made sense. The kingdom of heaven is within you. That wasn't a metaphor. That was literal truth. I and the Father are one. That wasn't blasphemy. That was reality. The Father and I are one. That was the fundamental truth of existence. From that moment on, everything changed. Not overnight. Not all at once. But steadily, surely, profoundly. Prayer became completely different for me. I wasn't talking to someone far away anymore. I was communing with the infinite within me. When I had a problem, I didn't beg for help from outside. I went within to the source that had all wisdom, all power, all resources. I would sit quietly and feel the presence. I would commune with the infinite. I would listen. And answers would come. Not always immediately, but always eventually. My life transformed. Things that had been stuck began to move. Questions that had plagued me were answered. Doors that had been closed began to open. Peace replaced anxiety. Confidence replaced doubt. Joy replaced fear. Not because circumstances magically became perfect, but because I was living from a different level of consciousness. I was living from the source instead of the surface, and that same presence that changed my life is in you right now. Not a lesser version. Not a smaller portion. Not something you have to earn or develop or become worthy of. Right now, as you hear these words, the infinite is expressing as you. The consciousness that's aware right now, that's listening to my voice, that's understanding these concepts, that's feeling these feelings, that's the consciousness of God. You are not separate from the source. You never have been. You never could be. The sense of separation is an illusion of the surface mind. Let me tell you one more story, before we go deeper into the principles, because this one really illustrates the power of consciousness. A mother came to me once, and I could see the pain in her face, before she even spoke. Her son, her teenage son, had fallen in with the wrong crowd. He dropped out of school. He wouldn't listen to reason. He was making terrible choices, heading down a dangerous path. He wouldn't come home. He wouldn't return her calls. When she did see him, he was hostile, angry, closed off. She'd prayed for months. She'd prayed morning, noon, and night. She'd gone to church and lit candles. She'd asked everyone she knew to pray for him. But he only seemed to get worse. More distant. More troubled. More lost. She was exhausted from worry. She couldn't sleep more than a few hours a night. She couldn't eat. Every phone call made her heart race with fear that something terrible had happened. Her other children were suffering because all her attention was consumed by worry over this one son. I asked her to describe her prayers to me, and here's what she said, and I want you to listen carefully because this is what most people do. Every day I pray, please God, change my son, make him good, fix him, bring him back to me, help him see the error of his ways, protect him from harm, save him from the path he's on. And every time I see him, or think about him, my heart breaks because I see him throwing his life away. I see him destroying himself. I see all his potential being wasted. Now, on the surface, this seems like a loving mother praying for her son. It seems like a good prayer, but let me show you what was actually happening. What was happening beneath the surface. Every time she prayed, she was seeing him as broken, as wrong, as needing fixing, as troubled, as lost. She was holding him in the consciousness of being a wayward son, a troubled young man, someone who was making terrible choices. And that consciousness, that mental image of him, that she held in her mind, with tremendous emotion, with fear, and worry, and pain, was actually reinforcing the very pattern she didn't want. You see, consciousness is creative. The images you hold in your mind about other people affect how they show up in your world. Everyone in your world is, in a sense, reflecting your consciousness back to you. I looked at her with compassion, and I said, your son is showing you what exists in your consciousness of him. You're not actually praying to God. You're impressing your subconscious mind with an image of a troubled son. And that's what keeps showing up in your world. That's what keeps being reflected back to you. Her face went white. She looked stricken. Are you saying this is my fault? She asked, her voice breaking. Are you saying I'm causing this? No, I said gently but firmly. I'm not saying it's your fault. I'm saying you're in creative control. And that's actually very good news, because it means you can change this. You have the power. You're not helpless. You're not a victim of circumstances. You can change your consciousness, and when you do, everything changes. I explained to her. You're not praying to God, asking God to change your son. You're praying from God. The infinite intelligence within you knows your son, at his highest level. It sees the divine potential in him, the perfect expression of life, that he truly is, underneath all the surface behavior, all the poor choices, all the trouble. You need to see what God sees. You need to hold him in the highest consciousness, not the lowest. You need to see him whole, perfect, divinely guided. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. How? She asked. How do I do that when I see what's happening? How do I ignore reality? You're not ignoring reality, I told her. You're choosing which reality you focus on. You're choosing which level of reality you live in. There's the surface reality, what appears to be, and there's the deeper reality, what truly is. Your son, at his deepest level, is a divine being. He is the expression of God. That's the truth. The behavior is temporary. The divine nature is eternal. Which one are you going to focus on? So she began a new practice, and it wasn't easy at first. Every time she thought of her son, instead of immediately dropping into worry, instead of immediately seeing him in trouble, she would stop herself. She would close her eyes for just a moment. She would take a breath. And she would consciously, deliberately shift her consciousness. She would see him as God saw him. She would see him whole, purposeful, filled with divine direction. She would imagine him happy, making good choices, fulfilling his potential, living in his true nature. And she would say, feeling every word, divine intelligence guides my son. The infinite love of God surrounds him. He is protected. He is guided. He is discovering his true purpose. The light of God shines in him and through him. He is whole. He is perfect. He is the beloved child of the infinite. At first, it was so hard. Her human mind, her worried mother's mind, wanted to return to fear. Old patterns wanted to reassert themselves. She'd catch herself imagining terrible scenarios. She'd catch herself in the old consciousness. But each time, she'd gently bring herself back. She'd return to the highest vision. She'd return to seeing him as God saw him. She did this every single day, multiple times a day. Morning, noon, and night. Every time he came to mind, she'd consciously shift from the consciousness of a troubled son to the consciousness of a divinely guided son. She felt it. She believed it. She lived in that consciousness. She released him in her mind. She stopped trying to control him or fix him. She simply held the highest vision and trusted the infinite. 6 months later, something shifted. Her son came home one evening, and something in him was different. He sat down with her and they talked. Really talked. For the first time in over a year. He told her he'd been doing some thinking. He'd met someone who'd inspired him. He'd had some realizations about his life. He wanted to make changes. He wanted to go back to school. He wanted to make something of his life. Now, did her consciousness directly change him? Did her thoughts control his behavior? No. That's not how it works. But her consciousness created the atmosphere, the environment, in which his own divine nature could emerge. She'd stopped holding him in bondage with her fearful thoughts. She'd stopped seeing him as broken. She'd released him in consciousness, and in releasing him, he was free to become who he truly was. The pressure was off, the judgment was lifted, and his own inner guidance could finally be heard. This is living from Source. This is what it means to live from the consciousness of God. You don't manipulate people. You don't control outcomes. You don't force things to happen. You simply hold the highest vision. You live in the consciousness of the answered prayer. You trust the infinite intelligence to work in its own way, and its own time. And it always works when we get our worried, fearful, limited thinking out of the way. Now let's go deeper into the principles behind all these stories. I'm going to give you the keys to understanding how to live from the consciousness of God every single day. These aren't theories. They're not philosophy. They're laws. as reliable as the law of gravity, as reliable as mathematics. And when you understand them, and apply them consistently, your life must change. It's not a maybe. It's not a possibility. It's a certainty. Listen carefully to this, because it's the foundation of everything. You have two levels of consciousness operating in you right now. Most people live their entire lives aware of only one, the surface level, what I call the conscious mind, or the objective mind. This is the mind that looks out at the world, sees circumstances, perceives through the five senses, and reacts to what it sees. It's the mind that's listening to these words right now. It's the mind that plans your day, makes decisions, analyzes situations, figures things out. Your conscious mind is like a gardener. It can choose what to plant. It can decide what seeds to put in the ground. It can plan the garden. But it cannot make things grow. It can say, I want a rose garden. But it cannot create roses through willpower alone. It cannot force petals to unfold or roots to spread or stems to strengthen. It doesn't have that power. This is where most people get exhausted. They're trying to create with the wrong level of mind. They're trying to force outcomes with their conscious will, and they wonder why they're tired all the time, why nothing seems to work, why they struggle so much. But beneath your conscious mind, beneath the surface level of awareness, is your subconscious mind, and this is the secret that changes absolutely everything. Your subconscious mind is not separate from you. It's not even really your mind in the sense of being limited, or personal, or individual. It's the universal mind expressing as you. It's the consciousness of God individualized. It's the level of mind that connects you to infinite intelligence. This is the level that has all power, all wisdom, all creative ability. Your subconscious mind is like the soil. It doesn't choose what grows. It doesn't judge the seeds. It doesn't say, I'll grow this but not that. It simply grows whatever is planted in it. Plant wheat, and it grows wheat. Plant weeds, and it grows weeds. Plant roses, and it grows roses. It accepts and creates. It doesn't question. It doesn't doubt. It simply says yes to whatever you impress upon it. And here's the most important thing you need to understand, the thing that will change your entire life if you really get it. Your subconscious is not isolated. It's not alone. It's not limited to your individual experience. It's connected to, actually one with, the universal subconscious, the infinite intelligence that created galaxies, that knows how to grow a baby from a single cell, that orchestrates the seasons, and the tides, that keeps planets in orbit, that grows an oak tree from an acorn. Here's how it works, and I want you to really absorb this. Whatever your conscious mind accepts as true and impresses upon your subconscious with feeling, your subconscious must bring into manifestation. It has no choice. It's compelled. It's the law. It's as reliable as the law of gravity. Drop a ball, and it must fall. Impress your subconscious with an idea charged with feeling, and it must manifest. Your conscious mind is the gardener who plants seeds. Your subconscious is the infinite creative soil that grows whatever is planted. Now here's the problem, and this is why so many good people, so many sincere people, so many people who are trying so hard, are struggling. Most people are planting fear, worry, and limitation all day long. They look at their bank account and think, I'm broke. I don't have enough. They look at their body and think, I'm sick. Something's wrong with me. They look at their relationships and think, I'm alone. Nobody loves me. They look at their work and think, I'm not good enough. I'll never succeed. And they're impressing these ideas on the subconscious, with tremendous feeling. The feeling of fear. The feeling of lack. The feeling of despair. The feeling of anxiety. Strong, powerful feelings. And the subconscious, which knows only to create, which can only say yes, creates more of the same. It's just following the law. It's just growing what's been planted. It doesn't judge whether you want it or not. It simply creates whatever you've impressed upon it with feeling. But when you understand at the subconscious level, the source within, is where all creation happens, everything changes. You stop fighting circumstances. You stop trying to change things at the surface level. You stop trying to force outcomes with your willpower. Instead, you go within. You work at the level of consciousness. You impress the subconscious with what you want, not what you have. You feel it as real now. You live in the consciousness of the wish fulfilled. And you let the infinite intelligence bring it about in ways your conscious mind, with its limited perspective, could never figure out or orchestrate. Living from the consciousness of God means identifying with the subconscious level, not the surface. It means knowing, deeply knowing. I am not this worried person. I am not these anxious thoughts. I am not this fearful feeling. I am the infinite creative power, expressing through this person. And I can choose a different thought right now. I can choose a different feeling right now. I can choose a different consciousness right now. Before you go to sleep tonight, and every night for the rest of your life, your conscious mind relaxes its control. The mental chatter quiets down. The guard comes down. The gate opens. This is the golden moment. Whatever you impress on your subconscious as you drift off to sleep has tremendous power because there's no resistance, no argument, no doubt. The subconscious is wide open, receptive, ready to accept. So instead of rehashing your problems as you fall asleep, instead of worrying about tomorrow, instead of replaying conversations or going over your to-do list, or stressing about bills or difficulties, affirm your good. Imagine your desire fulfilled. Feel it as real. Live in it. Let the infinite within you create through the night. Your subconscious never sleeps. It's working all night long, creating, arranging, orchestrating, and it's working on whatever you've impressed upon it with feeling in those last few moments before sleep. Now, let me tell you about another principle that will revolutionize your entire life. Jesus said, "The kingdom of heaven is within you," and most people, even most religious people, treat it like a nice metaphor, like a poetic way of saying God is everywhere, or God loves everyone. But I'm telling you, as clearly as I know how to say it, it's literal truth. It's not metaphor. It's not poetry. It's reality. Everything you could ever want or need exists right now, right this very moment, within your consciousness as a potential reality. The kingdom is not a place you go to when you die. It's not up in the sky somewhere. It's not a future destination. It's a state of consciousness. It's a level of awareness. When you enter this state, when you feel abundant, healthy, loved, purposeful, joyful, peaceful, you are in the kingdom. You're living from the kingdom consciousness, and from that consciousness, from that state of being, your outer world must conform. It has absolutely no choice in the matter. Consciousness is cause. The outer world is effect. Think about it. People are always trying to get things from outside themselves. They think happiness will come when they get the money. They think peace will come when they get the relationship. They think security will come when they get the job. They think health will come when they take the pill. They're looking outside for what can only come from within. But it's backwards. It's completely, totally backwards. You must first enter the consciousness of having it, the kingdom consciousness, and then it appears in your world. That's the law. That's the order. That's how creation works. Here's how you know if you're living from the kingdom within. How do you feel right now, in this moment? Not what are your circumstances. Not what does your bank account say. Not what does the doctor's report say. How do you feel? If you feel lack, if you feel fear, if you feel limitation, if you feel trapped or stuck or powerless, you're outside the kingdom. You're living from human consciousness, from the surface mind, from the level that sees only problems and obstacles. But if you feel peace, if you feel abundance, if you feel wholeness, if you feel that inner knowing that all is well regardless of circumstances, you're in the kingdom. You're living from God consciousness. You're living from the source. And from that place, everything you need flows to you naturally, effortlessly, perfectly. And here's the beautiful thing, the liberating thing, the empowering thing, you can enter the kingdom anytime you choose. Right now, in this very moment, you can choose to feel abundant. You can choose to feel loved. You can choose to feel healthy. You can choose to feel successful. Not because you're lying to yourself. Not because you're denying reality. But because these states exist within your consciousness, as real possibilities, as potentials waiting to be actualized, and you have the God-given power to choose which one you inhabit. The gate to the kingdom is your imagination. When you imagine something vividly, when you see it clearly in your mind's eye, when you feel it as real in your body and emotions, you enter the consciousness of it. You're not pretending. You're not engaging in childish make-believe. You're entering a state of being that already exists within you as a potential. Every possible reality exists in the infinite potential of consciousness. Your imagination is the tool, the faculty, that allows you to select which possibility you want to experience, which potential you want to actualize. Consciousness is cause. Your outer world is effect. This is the most important principle I can teach you. This is the foundation of everything. When you change consciousness, the effect must change. Not might change. Not could change if you're lucky. Must change. Not because you're manipulating reality, or using magic, or breaking natural laws, but because reality is consciousness made visible, consciousness objectified, consciousness expressed in form. You're simply choosing which reality to make visible, through your state of being, through the consciousness you inhabit. Throughout your day, as you go about your activities, whenever you notice yourself feeling lack or fear, or limitation, stop for just a moment and ask yourself this simple question: am I in the kingdom right now? If not, if you realize you've slipped into human consciousness, close your eyes for just a moment. You don't need a long meditation. Just a moment. Take a breath. Go within to the source. Feel the infinite presence within you. Return to the knowing that all is well, that you're guided, that the source within you has all power, all wisdom, all resources. That's entering the kingdom. That's choosing the higher consciousness. That's living from source. Now let me teach you about the power of assumption, because this is one of the most practical, immediately applicable tools I can give you. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, and you will compel it into manifestation. This is not just positive thinking. This is not just hoping for the best. This is the creative law of consciousness. This is how reality is actually created. Whatever you assume to be true, whatever you accept as true in your consciousness, and persist in feeling, will become your reality. It must. It's law. To assume something means to accept it as true without evidence, without proof, without needing to see it first. Think about a child playing. When a child assumes they're a superhero, they don't need proof. They don't need evidence. They don't need to see it to believe it. They feel it. They live it. And in that moment, to them, in their consciousness, it's completely real. They're not lying. They're not engaging in false pretending. They've entered the state. That's the consciousness that creates. That's the power you need to reclaim as an adult. Now here's the mistake I see people make over and over, and it breaks my heart because they're so close to understanding but they miss the crucial point. People say affirmations while feeling the opposite. They say, I am abundant, while feeling poor. They say, I am healthy, while feeling sick. They say, I am loved, while feeling lonely. They say, I am successful, while feeling like a failure. The words don't matter. The words have no power in themselves. The feeling does. The feeling is everything. The consciousness you're in is what creates, not the words you say. To assume correctly means to live in the end result, in your imagination, with feeling. If you want abundance, don't imagine getting money. Don't imagine money coming to you. Don't imagine a check arriving. That puts it in the future. That maintains the consciousness of not having it yet. Instead, imagine having it already. Feel secure. Feel free. Feel generous. Feel the relief of having more than enough. What would it feel like if you already had abundant resources? That feeling, that state of being, is the creative state. When you can feel abundant regardless of your current bank balance, you're in the consciousness that creates abundance. You know you've truly assumed something when you no longer desperately want it, when you no longer feel that anxious need for it, because in your consciousness, you already have it. It's yours. It's done. When you've assumed the state of abundance, you don't worry about money anymore. Not because you're in denial about your current circumstances, but because you feel abundant. It's your natural state. It's how you move through the world. The outer manifestation becomes a detail, not a desperate need. Why does this work? Why is assumption so powerful? Your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. Scientists have proven this. They've done studies with brain scans. When you imagine something with feeling, when you live it in your mind, your brain fires the exact same neural pathways as if it were actually happening. Your body responds. Your chemistry changes. Your subconscious accepts it as fact, as something that has happened or is happening, and the subconscious, being one with the universal creative power, begins to bring it into your physical world. You must persist in your assumption, not for 1 day, or 1 week, or until you get tired of it, but until it becomes your natural state, until it's no longer an effort, until you naturally feel and think from that state. When you find yourself slipping back into the old consciousness, and you will, because old patterns have momentum, gently return to the assumption. Don't beat yourself up. Don't think you've failed. Just gently, lovingly, return to the state you want to inhabit. You're reconditioning your consciousness. You're teaching yourself to live from a new level. Be patient with yourself. Be persistent. The law never fails if you persist faithfully. And here's the grace of it, the beautiful, restful, liberating part that takes all the pressure off. You don't have to figure out how. You don't have to know the steps. You don't have to see the path. The infinite intelligence within you knows how to bring about what you've assumed. It knows the way. It knows the timing. It knows which people to bring into your life, which opportunities to present, which doors to open. Your job is simply to maintain the consciousness, to live in the feeling, to abide in the state. The how takes care of itself. The infinite has ways you haven't thought of, connections you don't know about, timing you couldn't predict, solutions you couldn't imagine. Trust it. Trust the process. Trust the law. Let it work. Stop trying to force things to happen. Stop manipulating. Stop controlling. Just maintain the consciousness and let the infinite do its perfect work. Now let's talk about prayer. Because this is where so many people go wrong, and I want to set you free from ineffective prayer. Most people have been taught to pray all wrong. They've been taught to beg, to plead, to ask a distant God for help. They've been taught that, maybe, if they pray hard enough, or long enough, or sincerely enough, or piously enough, God might grant their request. Maybe, if they're good enough, if they're worthy enough, if God is in the mood. But prayer isn't begging. True prayer is not begging. Prayer is communing with the infinite intelligence within you. It's aligning your consciousness with the source. It's entering the state of the wish fulfilled. When you pray, "Please God, give me money," what are you actually doing at the level of consciousness? You're affirming lack. You're focusing on not having. You're living in the consciousness of poverty. You're impressing your subconscious with the very state you don't want. You're saying, "I don't have money. I need money. I lack money." And from the consciousness of poverty, only more poverty can come. That's the law. That's why people can pray sincerely for years and years and see absolutely no results. They're praying from the wrong consciousness. They're reinforcing the problem instead of living in the solution. True prayer is entering the consciousness of the answered prayer. It's going within to the source, to that place of deep communion, and feeling grateful for what you desire as if it's already yours, as if it's already manifested, as if it's already a done deal. Thank you, Father, for my abundance. I feel it now. I claim it now. It is mine now in consciousness. I accept it. I receive it. I give thanks for it. You're not trying to convince God. God doesn't need convincing. The infinite wants to give you everything. The infinite is unlimited. There's no shortage in the spiritual realm. You're impressing your own subconscious mind, which is your personal access point to the universal power. The feeling is everything. I cannot emphasize this enough. You can repeat a prayer 1,000 times, 10,000 times, but if you don't feel it, if you don't live in the consciousness of it, if you don't embody the state, nothing happens. It's just empty words. It's the feeling that impresses the subconscious. It's the consciousness you're in that creates. So pray with feeling. Pray with conviction. Pray with the certainty of a child who knows their loving parent will provide. Pray as if you're talking to your own deeper self, Because you are. You're communing with the infinite within you, not something separate from you. Some of my most powerful prayers, my most effective prayers, have no words at all. I simply go within to that place of deep peace, that stillness at the center of my being, that silence where I feel the presence of the infinite. In that silence, I commune with the source. I don't ask for things. I don't recite formulas. I don't perform rituals. I just listen. I receive. I open myself. I allow myself to be filled with the consciousness of God, with the awareness of infinite abundance, infinite love, infinite wisdom. And from that state, from that consciousness, everything I need flows to me naturally, not because I begged for it, not because I earned it, but because I aligned myself with the infinite flow. I became a clear channel. I removed the blocks of fear and doubt and worry. How do you know your prayer is answered? How do you know you've successfully impressed your subconscious? When you have inner peace about it. When you feel the joy of it now, not in the future, but now. When you no longer desperately need it because in your consciousness, it's already yours. When you can think about it and feel satisfied, complete, fulfilled. That's when you know the creative law has been set in motion. That's when you know you've successfully planted the seed. The outer manifestation is just a matter of time. It's on its way. It's in the process of becoming visible. And ultimately, the highest form of prayer, the most powerful prayer, is living in constant communion with the source within. It's going through your day aware that the infinite intelligence is flowing through you every moment, guiding you, directing you, expressing as you, creating through you. That awareness itself is prayer. You're not separate from God for one single moment. Every breath is communion. Every thought is an opportunity for prayer. Every action can be a prayer. You're living in the consciousness of God. One of the biggest blocks people have, one of the things that stops more people than almost anything else, is trying to figure out how their good will come. They want the relationship, but they think it has to be through this specific person they're attracted to. They want the money, but they think it has to come through their job or this particular business deal. They want the healing, but they think it has to come through this specific treatment. They're trying to tell the infinite how to work. They're limiting the infinite to their tiny human thinking, their limited perspective. The infinite intelligence has infinite ways to bring about your good. Infinite ways. Ways you've never thought of. Ways you couldn't think of, because you don't have all the information. Ways that don't yet exist in your current reality. Paths that will open when you're ready. Connections that will appear at exactly the right time. Resources that will show up from unexpected sources. When you insist on the how, when you try to control the process, when you try to manipulate circumstances, you limit the creative power to your limited understanding. You block the flow. Your job is to define the what. What do you want to feel? What do you want to be? What do you want to experience? Not the how, but the what. Your job is to live in the consciousness of the wish fulfilled. That's your part. The infinite's job is the how. And I promise you, based on 50 years of observation, its ways are far better, far more elegant, far more perfect than anything you could devise with your logical mind. The infinite sees the whole picture. You see a tiny piece. The infinite knows timing. You don't. The infinite knows what's best for everyone involved. You can only see your own perspective. I've seen people pray for a specific job with a specific company, not get it, and be devastated, completely heartbroken, thinking God had abandoned them, only to be offered a better position with a better company a month later. One that paid more, had better hours, was closer to home, offered better opportunities for growth. The infinite said no to their limited plan because it had something greater in store. But they had to let go of their small idea first. They had to release their attachment to the specific how. They had to trust that the infinite knew better than they did. When you live from the consciousness of God within, you develop trust. Deep trust. Unshakable trust. You trust that everything is unfolding perfectly, even when you can't see the whole picture, even when things don't seem to be going your way. You don't anxiously check for results every 5 minutes. You don't desperately try to force doors open with your willpower. You don't manipulate circumstances, or people. You simply do what you're inspired to do, what feels right, what you're guided to do, and you trust that the infinite is orchestrating everything behind the scenes in ways you can't see, in ways you couldn't understand, even if they were explained to you. There's such relief in this understanding, such freedom. You don't have to control everything. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to figure out every step. You don't have to see the whole staircase. You simply have to maintain your consciousness in the state of the wish fulfilled, and let the infinite, which knows everything, which can do anything, which has all power and all wisdom, bring it about in its own perfect way and perfect timing. You're cooperating with the law, not fighting against it. You're flowing with the current, not swimming upstream. As you live in this trust, as you develop this consciousness, you'll start noticing signs that things are moving. Coincidences that aren't really coincidences. Synchronicities. People appearing at just the right time, with just the right information, or opportunity. Books falling off shelves, that contain exactly what you need to know. Phone calls, coming at the perfect moment. Information arriving exactly when you need it. Doors opening that you didn't even know existed. This is the infinite working. This is the law in operation. Your job is to stay in the consciousness and follow the intuitive promptings that arise. When you feel inspired to call someone, call them. When you feel drawn to go somewhere, go. When you get a hunch, follow it. These are the infinite's way of moving you into position, of bringing you into alignment with your good. Now I'm going to tell you something that might sound strange at first, something that might challenge your understanding. But once you really understand it, once you see its truth, it will completely change how you see every relationship in your life, every interaction with other people. Everyone in your world is reflecting your consciousness back to you. The world is a mirror. What you see in others is what exists in your own consciousness. Everyone is you pushed out. If people seem unkind to you, if they seem harsh or critical or mean, there's unkindness in your consciousness toward yourself or others. If people seem to criticize you, you're criticizing yourself, probably unconsciously. If people seem to judge you, you're judging yourself or others. If people seem generous and loving, you're living in a generous, loving consciousness. If people seem to support you, you're supporting yourself. Everyone around you is showing you, reflecting back to you, what's in your own consciousness. Now, I'm not saying you're to blame for how others treat you. I'm not putting guilt on you. I'm not saying you're wrong or bad. I'm saying something much more empowering. You're in creative control. You're not a victim. You're the creative center of your experience. And that's actually wonderful news. The best news possible. If you don't like how people show up in your life, if you don't like how they treat you, you can change it by changing your consciousness toward them. You have the power. You're not helpless. You're not at the mercy of other people's moods or choices. When someone is being difficult, when someone is causing problems in your life, instead of trying to change them directly, instead of arguing with them or trying to convince them or manipulating them, change your consciousness of them. See them as God sees them. See them whole, perfect, divinely guided. See them at their best. See them expressing their highest nature. Hold that vision persistently, faithfully, lovingly. They must respond because they're reflecting your consciousness. They have no choice. It's law. Now, they might not change overnight. Old patterns have momentum. But if you persist in seeing them at their highest, if you refuse to hold them in the consciousness of being difficult, if you maintain your vision of them as whole and perfect, something must shift. Either they'll change, or they'll leave your life, to be replaced by people who reflect your new, higher consciousness. Why does this work? Why is it so powerful? Consciousness is the only reality. Consciousness is all there is. The physical world, the world of form, is consciousness made visible. Consciousness objectified. When you change your consciousness of a person, you're literally changing the version of them that shows up in your world. You're not controlling them. You're not violating their free will. You're not manipulating them. You're simply shifting to a different frequency, a different state of consciousness, where a different aspect of them, a higher aspect, meets you. This understanding gives you tremendous freedom, tremendous power. You're not a victim of other people's behavior. You're not at the mercy of the world. You're not powerless in the face of difficult people or difficult situations. You're the creative center of your experience. Change within, and everything outside changes. That's the law. That's how it works. That's how consciousness operates. And it also creates compassion. Deep compassion. When you understand that people are reflecting consciousness, when you understand that they're showing you something about your own consciousness, you realize they're not your enemies. They're not out to get you. They're not the problem. They're showing you what needs healing in your own consciousness, what needs to shift in your own awareness. Every difficult relationship becomes a teacher. Every challenging person becomes a mirror showing you where you're still living in limited consciousness. And when you heal it in yourself, when you shift your own consciousness, they either change or they disappear from your life. Now let me give you specific practices, concrete techniques, that you can use immediately, starting today, starting right now, to begin living from the consciousness of God within you. These aren't complicated. They're simple. A child could do them. But they're powerful. They're transformative. The secret is not in the complexity. The secret is in doing them consistently, faithfully, daily, until they become your natural state of being, until they become automatic, until you no longer have to think about them. First practice. The morning consciousness setting. This is foundational. This is essential. How you begin your day determines the consciousness you live in all day long. Most people wake up and immediately start thinking about their problems. They wake up already anxious. They check their phone before they're fully awake and see all the demands, all the messages, all the things wrong in the world. They're programming their consciousness for struggle, for stress, for difficulty, before they even get out of bed. Then they wonder why their day is so hard. Here's what to do instead, and I want you to commit to this starting tomorrow morning. Before you open your eyes in the morning, before you reach for your phone, before you think about your to-do list, before you remember your problems, take 3 to 5 minutes to commune with the source within you. Just 3 to 5 minutes. That's all. Lie still in your bed. Don't move yet. Feel the life flowing through your body. Feel your heartbeat. Feel your breath. Recognize that you're alive. You woke up. That's a gift. That's a blessing. Then say to yourself, silently or out loud, whatever feels right. The infinite intelligence is awake in me. I am one with the source of all life. Divine order is governing my day. Everything I need flows to me easily and naturally. I am guided at every moment. I am guarded and protected. I am loved by the infinite presence within me. This is going to be a wonderful day. Good things are coming to me today. Don't just say the words mechanically, like reading a shopping list. Feel them. Mean them. Let them sink in. Feel the presence of God within you. Feel grateful that you're alive. Feel peaceful, knowing you're guided. Feel expectant that good things will unfold. Feel connected to the infinite. You're setting your consciousness for the day. Like tuning a radio to a specific station. You're choosing which frequency to operate on, which level of consciousness to inhabit. Throughout the day, as you go about your activities, whenever you notice yourself slipping into worry, or fear, or stress, and you will, because you're human and old patterns have momentum, stop for just 30 seconds. You don't need an hour. You don't need to go sit in meditation. You don't need to go to church. Just stop wherever you are. Close your eyes if you can. If you can't, that's okay too. Take a deep breath. Return to that morning consciousness. Remind yourself, I am living from the source within me. The infinite has this handled. All is well. I am guided. I am protected. I trust the process. This resets your consciousness instantly. It brings you back to truth. It brings you back to center. Commit to this practice for 30 days. No excuses. No exceptions. No matter how busy you are, no matter how stressed you are, no matter what's going on in your life. Before anything else, before you reach for your phone, before you start planning your day, before you remember your problems, commune with the infinite within you for just 3 to 5 minutes. I promise you, based on 50 years of experience and observation, your life will begin to transform, because your consciousness has transformed. You'll move through your day differently. You'll respond to situations differently. You'll feel different. You'll think different thoughts. You'll make different choices. And as your consciousness changes, your world must change. It's law. Second practice. The night impression technique. The moments just before you fall asleep are the most powerful, the most potent, the most creative time to impress your subconscious mind. This is golden time. Don't waste it. Your conscious mind is tired. It's relaxing its guard. It's letting go of control. The door to the subconscious is wide open. It's receptive. It's ready. Whatever you impress upon your subconscious in this drowsy, relaxed state sinks deep, goes straight in without resistance, and works through the night while you sleep. Most people go to sleep worrying. They replay problems in their mind. They rehearse difficult conversations. They go over their to-do list. They stress about tomorrow. They imagine worst-case scenarios. And they wonder why they wake up anxious, why they don't sleep well, why they have nightmares. They've been programming their subconscious all night with fear, with worry, with stress. They've been planting seeds of anxiety and trouble, and they're surprised when they harvest anxiety and trouble. Here's what I want you to do instead, and this practice alone can change your entire life if you do it faithfully. As you lie in bed, ready for sleep, comfortable and relaxed, bring to mind your desire, the one thing you want most. Don't think about it as something in the future. Don't think about how it will happen. Don't think about the steps you need to take. Imagine it as happening now, as already accomplished, as already manifested. What would it feel like if it were already true? If you want healing, feel healthy right now. Don't imagine getting healed in the future. Feel healthy now. Feel energetic. Feel your body strong and vibrant and full of life. Feel grateful for your perfect health. Thank your body for serving you. Feel the joy of feeling good. If you want abundance, feel secure right now. Feel the peace of having more than enough. Feel generous. Feel the freedom of not worrying about money. Imagine paying bills easily, joyfully. Imagine being able to help others, to give, to contribute. If you want love, feel loved right now. Feel cherished. Feel the warmth of deep connection. Feel seen and understood and appreciated. Feel grateful for the perfect love in your life. Live in that feeling. Immerse yourself in it. Let it fill your entire being. Don't let your mind wander to the how, or the when or the who. Don't start problem solving, or planning or figuring things out. Just feel the end result. Feel it as vividly as you can. Make it real in your imagination. And as you drift off to sleep, while holding this feeling, while bathing in this consciousness, you're impressing it on your subconscious, with tremendous power. Your subconscious works through the night. It never sleeps. It never rests. While your conscious mind is offline, your subconscious is working, creating, arranging, orchestrating. It accepts the impression you gave it as an instruction, as a command, as a blueprint. It begins creating the outer equivalent. It begins attracting the people, circumstances, opportunities, resources necessary to manifest what you've impressed upon it. It's working while you rest. Do this every single night for a month, and you'll be amazed, absolutely amazed, at how your life changes. Doors open that were closed. Solutions appear that you couldn't see before. What seemed impossible becomes possible, then probable, then actual. Why? Because you've been living from the consciousness of the answered prayer. You've been living in the end result. You've been living in the kingdom. And consciousness creates. That's all it does. That's all it can do. Third practice. The present moment consciousness check. This is simple but powerful. Throughout your day, randomly, whenever you think of it, simply pause for a moment and ask yourself this question: what consciousness am I in right now? That's it. Just ask the question. This simple question brings awareness. And awareness is the first step to any change. You cannot change what you're not aware of. And awareness. If you notice you're in worry, in fear, in lack, in stress, in anger, in resentment, you're in human consciousness. You're in the surface mind, you're in the problem state. If you notice you're in peace, in trust, in gratitude, in love, in joy, in confidence, you're in God consciousness. You're in the source state. You're in the solution state. There's no judgment here. No right or wrong. Just awareness. Just noticing where you are. Once you're aware, once you notice, you can choose. You have the power to choose. Say to yourself, I'm choosing to shift to the consciousness of God right now. I'm choosing peace over worry. I'm choosing trust over fear. I'm choosing abundance over lack. Take a breath. Feel the infinite presence within you. Return to the knowing that all is well. That you're guided every moment. That the source within you has all power, all wisdom, all resources. It takes 10 seconds. But it brings you back to truth, back to reality, back to the consciousness that creates what you want instead of what you don't want. Set a reminder on your phone, if it helps. A little alarm that goes off a few times a day to remind you to check your consciousness. Over time, over weeks and months of this practice, you'll find yourself naturally living in the higher consciousness more and more. You'll catch yourself faster when you slip into fear or worry. You'll return to truth more easily, more automatically. This practice alone, this simple consciousness check, can revolutionize your entire life, because you're training yourself to be aware of your consciousness, to be mindful of your state. And once you're aware, you have choice. Once you have choice, you have power. Fourth practice, the revision technique. This one is fascinating and powerful. If something happened today that you didn't like, something that upset you or disappointed you, or frustrated you, you can revise it in consciousness. This might sound strange. It might sound like fantasy. But remember the principle. Consciousness is cause. When you change consciousness, you change the effect. You change the future that flows from it. Before sleep, replay the troubling event in your imagination, but replay it the way you wish it had happened, the way it should have happened. If someone was rude to you, imagine them being kind. See the conversation going differently. If you felt fearful in a situation, imagine yourself feeling confident and calm. If you said something you regret, imagine yourself saying what you wish you'd said. If something went wrong, imagine it going right. Live through the revised version, with feeling. Make it real. Experience it fully, in your imagination. You're not changing the past in time. You can't do that. But you're changing your consciousness of it. And by changing your consciousness of the past, you change its effects on your future. You're healing the emotional charge. You're releasing the negative pattern. You're also impressing your subconscious with the pattern you want repeated, the response you want to have, the outcome you want to create, not the one you don't want. Make this a nightly practice. Before you do your night impression for what you want, first review your day. Is there anything you'd like to revise? Anything that didn't go as you'd hoped? Replay it the way you wish it had been. Then, feeling satisfied with your revised day, move into your impression of your wish fulfilled. This is taking creative control of your experience at the deepest level. Fifth practice, gratitude amplification. Gratitude is one of the fastest, most effective ways to shift into the consciousness of God. When you're truly grateful, when you feel genuine appreciation, you're acknowledging the source of your good. You're recognizing the infinite as the giver of all good gifts. You're living in abundance consciousness, rather than lack consciousness. You're in the state of having, of receiving, of being blessed, not the state of wanting or needing. Every evening, perhaps before your revision practice and your night impression, write down 3 things you're grateful for from your day. But here's the key, the secret that makes this powerful. Don't just list them mechanically. Don't just write words on paper. Feel them. Really feel them. Take a moment with each one. Close your eyes. Let the gratitude well up in your heart. Feel it in your chest. In your body. If you're grateful for your home, feel the warmth of it, the shelter, the security. If you're grateful for a person, feel the love, the connection, the appreciation. If you're grateful for your health, feel the life in your body, the energy, the vitality. Then, and this is important, add one more thing. Something you've prayed for, something you want. Something that hasn't manifested yet in physical form. Be grateful for it as if it's already yours, as if it already exists, as if it's already manifested. Thank you for my perfect health. Thank you for my abundant supply. Thank you for my ideal relationship. Thank you for my meaningful work. Feel grateful now, in this moment, not when it appears, not when you see it, but now. Because in consciousness, in the realm of cause, it's already yours. You're just waiting for it to appear in the realm of effect. When you feel grateful for something, you're in the consciousness of having it. You're in the kingdom. You're in the state of abundance. And consciousness is creative. Consciousness creates. You're impressing your subconscious with abundance, with fulfillment, with satisfaction. From this state, from this consciousness, more good must flow to you. It's attracted to you. It's pulled toward you. It's the law. Gratitude attracts more to be grateful for. Do this faithfully for 30 days, every single evening without exception, and you'll find yourself naturally more positive, more optimistic, more expectant of good, more aware of blessings all around you. You'll start seeing opportunities you missed before. You'll start noticing beauty you overlooked. You'll start feeling blessed instead of burdened. Gratitude becomes your natural state, your default setting. And from that state, you live in the consciousness of God. So here's what we've discovered tonight, in our time together. You are not separate from God. You never have been. You never could be. The infinite intelligence that created this vast universe, that created billions of galaxies, that created all of life, is within you right now, at this very moment, as the very consciousness you're using to understand these words, as the awareness that's aware, as the life that's living through you, the kingdom of heaven, everything you could ever want or need, every good thing, every perfect gift, is within you right now, as a potential reality in consciousness, waiting to be actualized, waiting to be brought into form. You don't have to beg the universe for your good. You don't have to earn it through suffering. You don't have to prove you're worthy. You don't have to be perfect. You simply have to shift from human consciousness, which sees limitation, which sees problems, which sees obstacles, which lives in fear, to God consciousness, which knows only infinite possibility, infinite abundance, infinite love, infinite wisdom, infinite power. You have to stop living from the surface mind that worries, and doubts and struggles, and sees only what appears to be, and start living from the source within that knows what truly is, that knows your divine nature, that knows you as perfect, and whole, and complete. The practices I've given you tonight are your tools. They're your techniques. They're your daily exercises for the soul. Use them faithfully. Use them consistently. Morning consciousness, setting to start your day in the right state, to tune yourself to the right frequency. Night impressions to program your subconscious while you sleep, to plant the right seeds in the creative soil of your mind. Awareness checks throughout the day, to stay conscious, to stay awake, to stay in the higher consciousness. Revision to heal the past and change its effects, to rewrite your story. Gratitude, to amplify your consciousness of abundance, to live in the kingdom, to feel blessed. These aren't just techniques to try once or twice. They're not quick fixes or magic spells. They're ways of training yourself, of reconditioning your mind, of teaching yourself to live from the source within you instead of the worried, fearful, limited surface mind. They're ways of making God consciousness your natural state, your default setting, your automatic response to life. Remember this above all else. Consciousness is cause. Your world, your circumstances, your experiences, your relationships, your health, your wealth, your everything, that's all effect. When you change consciousness, when you shift from one state to another, everything changes. Everything must change. It's not optional. It's not a maybe. It's law. And the beautiful thing, the liberating thing, the empowering thing is that you can choose your consciousness in any moment, right now, in this very moment, regardless of your circumstances, regardless of your past, regardless of what anyone has told you. You can choose to live from the infinite within you. You can choose to feel abundant. You can choose to feel loved. You can choose to feel guided. You can choose to feel healthy. You can choose to feel successful. You can choose to feel blessed. And as you persist in that choice, as you make it again and again, day after day, moment by moment, it becomes your natural state. It becomes easier. It becomes automatic. It becomes who you are. You become a person who lives from Source, who moves from the consciousness of God, who creates from the inside out. So I'll leave you with this affirmation, this declaration of truth. I want you to say it with me now. Say it out loud, if you possibly can, or silently if you must, but say it with feeling, with conviction, with every fiber of your being. Mean it. Feel it. Know it as truth. Here it is. I am one with the infinite intelligence that created the universe. I am not separate from the Source. I am an individualized expression of God. The consciousness of God is my consciousness. The power of God is my power. The wisdom of God is my wisdom. The love of God is my love. I live, move, and have my being in the infinite presence. I am immersed in it. I am surrounded by it. I am one with it. All things are possible to me, because I live from the Source within. Nothing is impossible to me. I am guided at every moment by infinite wisdom. I am guarded and protected by infinite love. I am infinitely supplied by infinite abundance. Everything I need flows to me easily and naturally. I trust the process. I trust the law. I trust the infinite. And so it is. It is done. Amen. If this teaching has resonated with you, if something in this message has touched your heart or opened your understanding, or given you hope or shown you a new way, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to subscribe to this channel, so you'll be notified when I share more wisdom, more teachings, more truth about living from the consciousness of God. These principles are infinite. We've only scratched the surface tonight. There's so much more to explore, so much more to understand, so much more to live. Hit that like button if something here moved you, if something shifted in you, if you feel different than you did when we started. Your engagement helps other people find these teachings, and that's important because this message can change lives. It has changed thousands of lives. It can change millions more. And most importantly, I want you to leave a comment below telling me which practice you're going to start with. Are you going to begin with the morning consciousness setting, the night impressions, the awareness checks, the revision, the gratitude? Tell me, write it down, declare it, make a commitment, and then share your experiences as you practice. Tell me what happens. Tell me what changes. Tell me what shifts. I read every comment. I'm genuinely interested in your journey, in your transformation, in your growth. Remember, my friend, you are not alone. You are not separate. You are not limited. You are not small. You are not powerless. You are the infinite expressing as you. You are God in human form. The same power that created galaxies beats your heart right now. The same intelligence that grows a baby from a single cell, that grows an oak tree from an acorn, that keeps planets in orbit, is within you at this very moment, waiting to express, waiting to create, waiting to live as you. Live from that truth. Live from that consciousness. Live from that power. Live from the Source within. Stop living from worry and fear and doubt and limitation. Start living from peace and trust, and confidence, and infinite possibility, and watch your world transform. Watch your life become magical. Watch miracles become normal. Watch the impossible become possible. This is your birthright. This is your inheritance. This is who you truly are. Claim it. Live it. Be it. The consciousness of God is your consciousness. Now go forth and create your beautiful life from the Source within. God bless you.